Did you know that stories can change the way our brains work? According to a study from the University of California, listening to a story activates more areas of the brain than just understanding language. This means that storytelling isn't just about words, it's a full-body experience. In fact, neuroscientist Paul Zak found that emotional stories increase oxytocin levels in the brain, which helps people feel empathy and connection. So, if you want to connect with your audience, telling a great story is key. But what makes a story truly great? It's all about emotion. Emotions are the threads that weave stories together, creating bonds between the storyteller and the audience. Yet, many people overlook how to use emotion effectively. This video will reveal the secrets behind the techniques used by the best storytellers. In the following chapters, we'll explore powerful strategies like using vulnerability, emotional mapping, sensory details, and unexpected twists. You'll learn how these techniques can help you craft stories that stick in the hearts and minds of your audience. Get ready to transform your storytelling skills and connect with people on a deeper level. Chapter 1: The Power of Vulnerability, Turning Flaws into Relatable Gold. You know what people love more than a perfect hero? A flawed one. Great storytellers use vulnerability to make their stories human. Research from Brené Brown shows that vulnerability builds trust and connection. She said, "Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change." If you want people to connect with your story, you need to show them your flaws. Most people try to hide their failures or struggles. But when you share your imperfect moments, your audience sees themselves in you. We all have struggles. We all fail. When you let people into those moments, they lean in closer. A 2017 study from Harvard Business School found that leaders who admit mistakes are seen as more competent. Vulnerability doesn't make you weaker, it makes you more relatable. Look at storytellers like Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love. She didn't shy away from her messy divorce or midlife crisis. Instead, she laid it bare for the world to see. That's what made her story resonate with millions. It's not about being dramatic, it's about being real. When you tell a story, ask yourself, where's the vulnerability? What can I share that's messy or imperfect? That's where the emotional gold is. Chapter 2: Emotional Mapping, Crafting a Rollercoaster of Feelings. Emotionally flat stories lose people. Great storytellers understand that emotions have to move like a roller coaster. This concept is called emotional mapping. It's about crafting a narrative that takes your audience on a journey through highs and lows. Think about Pixar movies. They're masters at this. Take Inside Out, for example. The movie switches from joy to sadness, anger to disgust. It's constantly moving between emotions, keeping the viewer engaged. Studies show that shifting between emotions keeps people more invested. Paul Zak, a neuroeconomist, found that emotional stories release oxytocin, which makes people more empathetic and connected to the narrative. You can use this in your stories too. Don't stay at one emotional note. If you're telling a sad story, add moments of lightness. If it's funny, sneak in a deeper emotional truth. The key is to create contrast. When you shift the emotional tone, it wakes up your audience's brains. Here's how to do it: map out the emotions you want your audience to feel. Start with one emotion, then plan how to shift to another. This technique keeps people on the edge of their seats. They won't know what's coming next, and that's what keeps them hooked. Chapter 3: The Mirror Effect, Triggering Empathy by Reflecting Your Audience. The best stories make people say, "That's me." This is called the mirror effect. When you reflect your audience's emotions and experiences, they feel seen. It's not about telling your story, it's about telling theirs. Research from Princeton University shows that when people listen to a story, their brain waves actually sync with the storytellers. This is called neural coupling. When your audience relates to your story, they're literally on the same wavelength as you. This is why great storytellers don't just talk about themselves. They find universal themes. Think of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who tells deeply personal stories but always ties them to broader human experiences. Whether it's about identity, migration, or love, her audience can always find themselves in her stories. Here's a trick. Ask yourself, What does my audience care about? What are they struggling with? Then, weave those themes into your story. When people see themselves in your story, they become emotionally invested. Enjoying these storytelling secrets? Don't forget to subscribe for more insights and tips on how to master the art of storytelling. Chapter 4: Sensory Immersion, Making Emotions Tangible. Have you ever noticed how certain smells or sounds bring back a flood of memories? Great storytellers tap into this power by engaging the senses. When you describe something in a way that your audience can feel, you make the story come alive. This technique, called sensory immersion, triggers emotions without even having to name them. For example, instead of saying, "I was scared," describe the cold sweat on your palms, the tremble in your voice, or the pounding in your chest. Neuroscience research shows that sensory language activates the same areas of the brain that light up during real experiences. According to Lisa Feldman Barrett, author of How Emotions Are Made, our brains construct emotions based on past sensory experiences. By using sensory details, you trigger those memories in your audience, making them feel what you felt. One classic example of sensory immersion is in Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. When he writes about rain, you can almost hear it tapping on the window, smell the dampness in the air, and feel the chill. This technique makes the reader feel like they're inside the story, not just hearing about it. So, the next time you're telling a story, bring in those sensory details. It's a simple way to heighten the emotional impact without being overly dramatic. Chapter 5: The Art of the Silent Pause, Letting Emotions Breathe. Not everything in storytelling has to be said out loud. In fact, silence is a tool that great storytellers use to deepen emotional moments. When you let emotions breathe, you allow your audience to process what's happening. This technique is called the art of the silent pause, and it's a key part of making your stories resonate. Alfred Hitchcock once said, "The suspense is in the silence." He was right. Pauses create tension, but they also give your audience space to feel. Research from University College London found that pauses in speech make listeners more attentive, helping them digest the message more deeply. That's why TED Talks often feature speakers using intentional pauses to let a key point sink in. Look at the speeches of Martin Luther King Jr. or Barack Obama. They both mastered the use of pauses to make their words more powerful. It's not just about what they said, but how they gave people the time to feel the weight of their message. Silence can speak louder than words when it's used right. Next time you're telling a story, resist the urge to rush through it. Use moments of silence to create anticipation, or to let a powerful moment land. A well-timed pause can give your audience the space to reflect, and that's when the emotional connection really happens. Chapter 6: The Unexpected Twist, Surprising the Heart, Not just the mind. When we think of plot twists, we often think of shocking events. But emotional twists can be just as powerful, if not more. The greatest storytellers know how to surprise the heart, not just the mind. These emotional twists turn a story from good to unforgettable. Research from George Loewenstein, a professor of psychology at Carnegie Mellon, shows that surprise activates the brain's reward system. It releases dopamine, making the experience more pleasurable and memorable. But it's not just about shocking your audience. It's about giving them an emotional experience they didn't expect. Take J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. When Dumbledore reveals that Harry's greatest strength is his capacity for love, it's an emotional twist. The story shifts from a typical hero's journey to something deeper, an exploration of how love can conquer even the darkest forces. That emotional surprise left a lasting impression on readers. To create an emotional twist, you need to build up expectations and then shift the narrative in a way that feels both unexpected and authentic. It could be revealing a hidden vulnerability in a seemingly strong character or showing the soft side of someone tough. The key is to subvert expectations in a way that deepens the emotional core of your story. When your audience feels something they didn't see coming, that's when your story will stick with them. Love these storytelling strategies? Make sure to subscribe for more tips on how to connect with your audience through the art of storytelling.